Hello, 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 and welcome once again to one of my Rent to Wealth videos. This video, we're going to be discussing the $1 million real estate strategy. This is a strategy that I have used personally. I've done several pieces of it, but it's a way to drastically increase your wealth, whether it's a down market, an up market, it doesn't really make a difference. I am your host. My name is Art Veal. I am the founder of several companies, primarily based around real estate. So I try to do these videos and keep them to around 10 minutes. So let's hope we can get this done. So let me get started. This is a step-by-step strategy to $1 million cash. That's very important because we all like $1 million in equity, but cash is always better. So how do I know this works? This plan has been going with me. I've been building this plan painstakingly for the last 25 years. It is built out of failure. This is a strategy. It is not the only strategy, but it is what I've done in my career, and I know it works, so I can speak to it. If it works for you, that's great, but take it as you will. This came about from me failing more often than succeeding. I have failed with this strategy. I've done a lot of different things, and some things worked out really well. Some things did not work out well. I tried to keep this strategy to the things that worked out well. You don't need to do every step, but it does depend on where you are now to where you start at. So some of the stuff I'm going over, you might say, I don't need to do that. I can kind of move on to the next thing because I'm sure some people watching this have real estate experience while others have absolutely no real estate experience. So I started at the very beginning and kind of walk you from there to the end. This is a 5-step process. Now, with this, as I go through the steps, you can actually continue to do each of the steps as you grow and as you go. So when you get to step 2, you can still be doing step 1. And I would suggest it until it absolutely does not make sense to do step 1 any further. And I'll explain a little bit more as we go. Now, this plan requires 3 things. And if anybody tells you different, they're probably lying to you. It requires cash, it requires credit, and it requires education. That's the bad part, that it requires all 3. The good part is it does not require all 3 from you. You do not have to have your own cash, or at least very much of it. You don't have to use your own credit, but you do have to get your own education. And going through this, you should be educating yourself as you go through this. In fact, watching this video is educating yourself. But as you go through this process, eventually you will acquire cash, credit, and education. So let's go forward from there. So step 1 is we need to build you some cash, going with the assumption that you are working a 9-to-5 job, making ends meet, but barely making ends meet, and you want to get into this as a way to get out of that rat race or get out of the 9-to-5. The first thing we need to do is build you up some cash. The reason I say that is because a lot of people get into real estate and the first thing they do is they buy a rental property or they get an FHA and they're able to get an FHA loan to buy a property that they're supposed to live in, but they rent it out. That's a strategy, but I would not suggest it. You need to build up some cash first because that cash is going to allow you to choose the right options and you're not going to be restricted by only doing things where you don't need cash or you can't get into other things. So if I were starting from zero, I would learn to bird dog or wholesale real estate. Bird dogging is so I'm going to take you back a little bit. Bird dogging is when an investor, a lot of times there are investors and a lot of people do rehabs. They buy something, fix it up, and then sell it. Well, rehabbers spend a lot of their energy and time rehabbing houses, working with contractor crews, cleaning up houses, things like that. They don't often have times to go find the best real estate deal. So bird dogging is when you will go out and find real estate deals for them and then bring them back to them. And then once they buy the property, you can work in 2 ways. You can make these connections and then say, hey, I'll bring you a deal. Every lead I bring you, you pay me for every lead, whether you buy the house or not, and the price will be much lower. Or I'll bring you the lead and, you buy the house. And then once you buy the house, you pay me for that lead, but the price will be higher. So there's a little bit, that's more of along the lines of wholesaling. If you're not familiar, wholesaling real estate is when you essentially get that property under contract and then you assign or sell that contract to someone else who's going to actually buy the property. Both of these are very low barrier to entry startups, so you can do this with not a lot of money. The way to do bird dogging or wholesaling, you have to get leads in, and then you have to negotiate those leads. So an easy way to get leads in without having a lot of money is to drive for dollars, meaning you're driving an area looking for houses that are dilapidated or in bad shape. You're going to skip trace or find the owner. Then you're going to call that owner and you're going to try to negotiate to buy that property. I'm going to tell you, it's labor intensive. If you don't spend money, you're going to spend a lot of time and labor, because that's your trade-off for money. The next one is to knock on doors. Knock on doors requires you to get a list. You can go and search and find a list of people that either are delinquent on taxes. You can find people that have city violations. You can knock on doors of people that are in foreclosure or facing foreclosure. Any kind of distressed or potentially distressed owner, you're going to want to get a list of them. You can buy a list, usually for a couple of bucks, a couple of hundred maybe, if that. And you're going to knock on those doors. Now, I know that's intimidating to go knock on doors, but quick story on how to knock on doors. Once you got an address, you know what you're going to talk about. Go knock on the door. Take 3 steps back from the door so you're not right on their door when they open the door. And just say, introduce yourself. Be straightforward. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I got your information from a list about people that, whatever the list is about, they're in foreclosure, or people that have building violations. I wanted to see if I could talk to you today. Are you interested in selling the house, or do you have a house for sale? And it's knocking on doors. It's like a door-to-door salesman, but you're going to do it specifically to people that have a specific problem. You will get deals from this, but it's going to take a lot of energy and effort on your part. You cannot get discouraged. Another way, this is one that I did particularly, and it worked well, was to put out flyers. You put out flyers in an area that you want to buy in. Just put them on every door. Put them on every door, and or put them in the so that they can see them. And then just say, hey, we buy houses, and whatever you want to say in the flyer. And then once you put out that flyer, people will call you saying they have a house they want to sell. The thing is, when you put out flyers, they're going to call you. Sometimes they're going to have a house in that area. Sometimes they're going to have a house someplace else. But you put out the flyers and you do enough of them, you will get calls in, and then you can negotiate and talk to those people. So that's another way. But it's going to cost you a little bit for the flyers. But in relation to how much you're spending versus how much you're going to get, it's fine. You're going to spend a couple of $100s on flyers, if that, and you're probably going to get a few calls, and you might get a deal out of that. You need to commit to doing this for 3 to 6 months. The reason I say that is because 3 to 6 months is you're going to be discouraged when you go out there the first day and you don't get any calls, or everybody slams the door in your face, or you don't see a lot of houses to drive for dollars for. You're going to feel like this is stupid and you're wasting your time. It's not stupid. This is the grind. This is what you have to do, especially when you don't have cash. So commit to doing it for 3 to 6 months and do it consistently on a consistent basis. You're going to get what you you're going to get out of this what you put into it. If you go once a weekend, 1 weekend a month, then expect results of someone who put in 1 weekend a month. This needs to do something that you do in the evenings when you get off work, on the weekends. This is a business. This is a startup business with little to no money. Wholesaling is negotiating contracts and connecting buyers. That's what you're doing with these. You're going to be negotiating to purchase a property, and you're going to be connecting buyers. Now, I know that sounds intimidating, but I'm going to tell you something. I know how to code, do computer programming. One of the things I learned with coding, and it applies to this, is that the best way to get better at something is repetition. When you go out and talk to these sellers, you're not going to be great at it, but you're going to get better as you go, because you're going to get more comfortable and more familiar with the process, and that's going to help you. And then you're going to connect with buyers to buy these contracts. This works because investors, contractors don't have the time or desire to find deals. They would rather pay a little more to get a deal. This is very true, and this is going to be the basis of why this works. So let's say you do this for 3 to 6 months. During that time, I want you to network to build your connections. This is very important and is often overlooked. Start talking to cash buyers and investors. Learn the lingo, make connections. A lot of times when you talk to them, they're going to treat you like, get lost, kid, that kind of thing. That's fine. Have a good customer service voice. Have a good, okay, thanks. Well, if anything changes, give me a call and talk to them. Keep it respectful. Keep it where you want to learn, and if any of them are willing to talk to and share, write down what they're saying, get information, and learn and make connections. Another place that you can do, where do you go to find investors and contacts? You go to networking and events. If I wanted to go find clowns, I would not go to a serious investor symposium. Well, depending on the symposium. But if I were going to look for clowns, I would go to a place where clowns congregate. You want to go someplace where clowns congregate. Same way with investors. You want to go someplace where investors congregate. Think about like your local RIA groups, real estate investment associations. You can meet investors there. They usually host an event a month. If you're in a bigger market, usually there's multiple RIAs or groups around your area. Also, you can go to meetups for investors and find a lot of people. When you go to these events, make it a point to speak to 10 plus people at the event. You don't even have to know what you're talking about. Just introduce yourself. Say, hey, my name's Joe. I'm, getting into real estate and I'm making connections. What do you do? And just ask people something as simple as that. What are you into? What are you looking for? Are you an investor? Are you a realtor? Or, just ask. And you do that to a lot of people and you'll get contacts. You'll make connections with people. People that you want to deal with will talk to you and you'll start relationships. Tell them what you're doing and then listen. It's very simple. It's nothing complicated. Get names and numbers, and the next day, text the ones who had a good conversation with you and let them know you'll be looking for properties or you enjoy talking to them. This is very important. Most people, when they do network, mess up on follow-up and they don't follow up with people. When you went out and talked to 10 people, that same person went out and talked to 10 people as well. So you want to make sure that they remember you because you were the only one probably that followed up with them. And then connect with a title company. Ask them if they've got a title company because later on, title companies are going to come into play for you. A lot of attorneys having a title company that they can talk to you about. And you're going to want to make that connection with the title company and as you start to do your deals. Step 3, after the first sale, after you've done your first deal and sold it, you got to invest some of that money in marketing. I know what you're thinking. You'll do a deal, a wholesale or something like that, and somebody will pay you $5,000. And you're like, $5,000, let's get it. And you're excited and happy. Take that whole $5,000. We'll take $4,500. Take $500 and go out and do whatever you want with it. Take $4,500 and put it into your marketing. Invest in direct mailing. That's my suggestion. Or if you're not ready yet, invest in more flyers or invest in more people to help you door knock. But I suggest doing direct mailing. Get a list of potential sellers. Choose an area you want to focus on and focus on homes with equity. People mess up with this all the time. They focus on all these other things except the thing that matters, people with equity. Those are the people that you have the potential to make money on. Budget to send mailers for 3 months. That's what you need to do. You need to send out mailers for 3 months. You do not want to touch these people once, meaning you send out one mailer and never talk to them again. You want to send out mailers every month consistently for 3 months. So if I've got $4,500, I'm going to take that amount divided by 3, and that's the amount of money roughly I'm going to spend monthly on marketing. And you're going to still be doing your wholesale and looking for deals and everything else, but you're doing this as well. But the difference is now with this, sellers will call you and you can practice your negotiating even more. So this is going to help you build up that negotiation skill and help you build up doing deals. You'll wholesale these deals and eventually you'll start to learn how to set up owner financing. I'll do another video on that if that would help you. Step 4 is increase your marketing, secure financing, and wholesale. You're going to basically do step 1, 2, 3 and repeat until you get to a point that during this time, you can take a little bit after that first deal and you spent that $500 on whatever you want. You're going to take the next deal, take $500 and pay down debts and things like that. But you're going to get to a point where you can consistently do these deals. It's going to take a lot of effort until you start putting money into it. With this, you're going to secure financing so you can start buying the properties. I have a great financing source that I can share with everybody, but there's some requirements to that. You have to have a minimum 620 credit score. You have to have some real estate experience, and you have to have a little bit of cash. That's only going to happen if you've done steps 1 through 3. So, do those steps first. You should have closed a few deals by this time, and most of your cash should be reinvested. You're not there yet to spend money. You should still be networking and start educating yourself on commercial real estate because we're going to get to that in a second. You should be working and get in the mindset of working on multiple deals at the same time. I personally, my company tries to keep about 12 deals working at the all the time. We've got 12 deals. They're always at some point every month. We're either selling them, buying them, in the middle of finishing and closing them, something. 12 deals. You can build yourself up to that. I want you to start putting 40 to 50% of your profits aside once you start building up this company. It shouldn't matter to you. So some people are going to say 40 to 50%. I can't put 40 to 50% of my profits aside because I need that money. You didn't have that money to begin with. You didn't have that money when you started this whole thing 6 months ago. You didn't have that money. So you can't tell me how you can't put it aside because it's money you did not have. And we're only doing about 40 to 50% of it. Step 5, we're going to start looking for larger investments to buy and hold. You're going to start eventually when you get to a point, you're going to start. Now you have some credit because you've paid off your debts. You've got some money to invest and you've got a network. So now you're going to start looking for some bigger, longer term investments. We're going to start looking into commercial and choosing a niche in commercial. You're going to continue to make connections, but you're going to talk to people. You're going to go to commercial networking events as well. You're going to eventually invest in your first commercial deal, and you're going to buy and hold that property, or you're going to add value and sell that property. You can continue to do your residentials, continue to do everything you're doing, but you're going to do commercial at the same time and build up the same muscles that you built up in residential. You're going to build them up in commercial. And eventually you're going to probably move solely to commercial, but that takes time. So what does this look like? You will generate with this 1 million cash. You're going to sell your commercial property that you bought eventually, and you're going to probably end up with a large lump sum of cash. That lump sum of cash you're going to reinvest into another commercial property, and then you're going to sell that property eventually, and you're going to end up with an even larger lump sum of cash. You're going to refi or sell that commercial. Some people don't sell their commercials, and that's perfectly fine. You can refinance and pull cash out. That money is tax-free, essentially, because you pulled them out. You're going to continue this exact same pattern to grow. If something in this isn't clear, ask a question or consider joining my mastermind. There's a link to my mastermind in the comments. I want to tell you, finally, don't be afraid. You can do this. This is not hard. It takes persistence, it takes determination, and it takes a mindset. Make sure your mind is strong, and you're going to commit to this no matter how messed up it goes when you're doing a deal or something like that. You're going to commit to this. You can do this. Big things come from small beginnings. Apple is a huge company. At one point, Apple had more money than the U.S. government in holdings. And I know that's going to sound weird, but they based on how much money was in transition and everything, they had a lot of money and a lot of assets. But they're a huge company. They started out of a garage. It doesn't matter where you start. It matters where you end. Big things come from small beginnings. You can be a huge company doing commercial, $100 million commercial deals, but you have to start somewhere. I have done everything I'm talking about in this plan, and it has taken me years to figure out. Hopefully, I gave you everything in 17 or 18 minutes, give or so. And you can use this plan to speed past that and do this quickly and mass up. So hopefully this helps you. Until next time, I look forward to talking with you. And don't forget, happy hunting. Till next time.